All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else, and the video I'm bringing you today is going to be an updated video for my Melee Magicka Nightblade build. Now, for the Scalebreaker DLC. Now, people are going to ask, why did you make a Melee Nightblade build? Well, why does anybody make anything? You know, I was asked to try and do it. I came up with something. I think it's very powerful. I think it's effective. I wanted to share it with you guys. Honestly, I think this is too powerful, and I'm going to go through that at the end. We're going to dive, like most of my videos, guys, we're going to dive into the gear, consumables, skills. We're going to fly through all the boring stuff, and then at the end, I'm going to go through my long, in-depth explanation for what makes this build tick, why I think this build is so powerful, and why I think eventually this build needs to and should be adjusted. So, with that being said, guys, let's dive into it. First of all, we are running Ghastly Eyeball for our drink. So it's a consumable. This is our consumable. With this food, this puts us around 20 to 22,000 health in PvP. If you've been on my channel, you know, and you've seen a Magicka build, you've probably seen me running this exact same thing. It gives us a good amount of max Magicka for damage. It gives us a good amount of sustain. Honestly, guys, we do not need a big health bar with this build. We are going to be in stealth. Now, in Scalebreaker, if you guys haven't heard yet, dots are very powerful. Some people in some classes are having a hard time dealing with dots. Some people are talking about how Templars are overpowered because they have a Purify and they can deal with dots better than other classes. I am here to tell you guys that the best class for dealing with damage over time effects is a Magicka Nightblade. If you have high Magicka sustain, you will never be outside of stealth. If you're never outside of stealth, you will never be hit by dots. Not being hit by dots is better than being hit by dots and then having to use resources to remove said dots. So with this build, if you play this build, you can go an entire day, an entire week, an entire, campaign without dying if you play this correctly, if you are patient and you do things right. So obviously patience is the key to this type of build. There are some fights that you can't participate in. Like I said, I will dive into that at the end. So, but that's the potential for this build. You can kill anybody, potentially, and you can potentially never die. So, if I don't have your attention with that, I don't know what else to say. So, as far as our front bar goes, guys, we are running 5-piece Darlock Bray. Now, people are going to ask, why Greatsword? Why are we running the Greatsword? Isn't this a Magicka build? Where's the Destro Staff? Where's the dual wield? I thought you said Magicka. You didn't say hybrid. You were in a medium armor build. What the fuck? I get it, guys. There is really no difference between dual wield. Well, there's no difference in damage between dual wield and a 2H. A 2H is the exact same as dual wield swords. On top of that, guys, I wanted to do onslaught bombing. And so as I was going around playing with this build, I was leveling up my 2H bar. This allowed me to level it, running it on the front bar. Because I wasn't sacrificing damage, I was still able to, level this up and, get onslaught leveled and everything. Now, people are going to ask why Darlock Bray, isn't this a medium armor set? And it is. So, what makes this unique is we have 2-piece Magicka recovery, 3-piece stamina recovery, 4-piece, reduce the radius you can be detected while sneaking by 2 meters, reduce the cost of sneak by 10%. Actually kind of effective for a light armor melee Magicka build. It allows us to, move in and out of fights if we're not cloaking all the time, which is very effective. And then the 5-piece, while crouching and not blocking, you restore 647 Magicka and stamina and heal for 666 health every second. So, as far as recovery goes, guys, this is 1,300 Magicka recovery and stamina recovery. So, on top of our already Magicka recovery, when we crouch, we'll have another 1,300 on top of it. This is a tremendous sustain stat. And with the amount of stamina sustain that we have, I've showed this in the video, but with the amount of stamina sustain that we have, we never run out of stamina. And so we can stay permanently crouched, stealthed, and at full stam. So if all of a sudden somebody pulls us out of stealth, we never have to worry about CC breaking or dodge rolling. We are at full stam. We can CC break. We can dodge roll. We can get out of there. We can get back in stealth, back to our comfy, cozy cloak, and restore our resources back very quickly because, like I said, on top of our normal recovery, we have 13,000 stamina recovery with this. So very, very high sustain set. Now, This is not like Shadow Walker. Shadow Walker, you have to be in stealth. This, you just have to be crouched. So as long as you are crouched and not blocking, you restore this. So your eyeball can be open. As long as you are crouched, you will get this bonus. Now, the minute you start dishing out damage, you will stand up. And so you have to make a concerted effort to get back into crouch in order to get these resources. It's not that hard. It takes some practice. Not that big of a deal, in my opinion. So, very, very effective set for our recovery. This is going to allow us to, sometimes wait out opponents, move around in stealth, pick our targets, and nuke people as Magic and Nightblades are wont to do. We're running the Black Rose Resto on the back bar. This gives us increased healing. In case we do get pulled out of stealth, we want as much healing as possible so that we can survive. Black Rose Resto is a no-brainer, in my opinion. 2-piece Vulcan Scoria. We are running 3 high damage over time effects, which will proc Scoria. Scoria is great for that. Provides a lot of burst. It is a very, very good set. Now, if you don't want to run Vulcan Scoria, because you don't want to run proc sets, I would recommend running Slimecraw. I think Slimecraw would be very good for this type of build. Balorg would be okay. Slimecraw would be better, I think, for this specific build. Bloodspawn doesn't matter a whole lot because you're not getting hit. You're going to be in stealth anyways, so you want damage, in my opinion. We already have all the recovery we need. As far as the body goes, guys, we're running Crafty Alfiq. Now, people are like, dude, you're a Magic and Nightblade. Why aren't you running Necropotence? The reason we're running Crafty Alfiq is we have this all the time. Sometimes when we're going in for a kill, we do have high burst. We have very high burst with this build, and so we want to be able to not alert people that we are in the area, and sometimes the Shadow Image does that because it will pull you out of stealth when you drop it. This gives us slightly less damage than Necropotence, and so that's why I'm running this. If you wanted more damage, you could run War Maiden. War Maiden would be better for this specific build. However, I wanted the bigger stat pool, and I wanted the bigger shields for survivability when we do get pulled out of stealth. That's why I went with Crafty Alfiq. All Impen, Prismatics on the big pieces. I just always go Prismatics. Yeah, it's just the way it is. And Darlock Braid Jewelry. This is a medium armor build, so it starts off as robust. We had to transmute it to Arcane. Now, the reason we transmute it to Arcane is Magicka Nightblades do get an 8% bonus through the Siphoner passive to get increased Max Magicka. So Max Magicka scales very well with Magicka Nightblade. If you wanted to run Infused, you absolutely can, but this also builds into our survivability by having bigger shields, so I went with Arcane. I don't think it's a big deal either way, guys. If you want to go infuse spell damage, that's fine. You are going to be missing out at, what, 2,400 at base Magicka. So, yeah, up to you. I don't think there's a real negligible difference with purple jewelry between Infused and Arcane. And I think Arcane kind of takes the lead on a Magicka Nightblade, but I don't have the numbers in front of me to actually prove that. I'm pretty certain that that's the case. But if I'm wrong, but I'm not that far wrong. Like, they're very close. So, yeah. So that's the gear. As far as the character sheet goes, guys, here's our character sheet. We have 46,000 Magicka. We have 1733 Magicka recovery, 15,500 health, just under 14k stam. We have 2351 spell damage, low spell and physical resistance. That's why we're not getting hit. 64 points in the Magicka. You do want to be a stage 4 vampire for this build. You want to have high movement speed. You want to be able to move around a battlefield, and that's a vamp. You don't want to be hit by fire when you're a vamp. That's why we have cloak. So our weaknesses. The strengths of Vamp with this build offset the weaknesses, in my opinion. Mage Mundus, once again, bigger max Magicka. If you wanted to go more damage, guys, Lover Mundus, Apprentice Mundus Stone would be better. But Mage for a bigger pool to dish out damage, to survive, yada, yada, yada. That's why I did that. As far as the skills go, guys, on our front bar, we're running Debilitate. Debilitate is a siphoning skill. We want this on our front bar. Gives us our 8% max Magicka. It is a fantastic damage over time effect. Unbuffed, sap an enemy's agility and rack them with pain, dealing 26,640 magic damage over 10 seconds and reducing their movement speed by 50% for 4 seconds. While this effect persists, the enemy is afflicted with minor Magicka Steal, causing you and your allies to restore 300 Magicka every second when damaging them. So, we have 1,300 stamina and Magicka recovery with Darlock Bray. We have 600 Magicka recovery with Debilitate on. So we have 1,900 unspoken for magic recovery with this build. So just keep that in mind. I showed you that we had 1700. We'll touch back on that in a second. As far as this skill goes, guys, you can run Lotus Fan. I was running Spectral Bow. I have been bombing, so I took my skill points out. I do not have it morphed, but we have roughly a 22,000 Spectral Bow. Not bad. It's not amazing. It's not like it's not a face melter, but it's good. It's more than enough to kill people. We're still going to hit hard with it. With our damage over time effects, with our burst damage, we will be able to kill people. So I was running Spectral Bow here, Shadowy Disguise. This is going to allow us to get in and out of the battlefield very quickly and undetected. So if we crouch and we cloak, we are very, very fast. We are very mobile. And we just want it on our front bar where our Darlock Bray is so that we can, basically spam cloak and move around. Mass Hysteria, this is going to be our CC. You don't need it. Honestly, this can be a flex spot. There are some builds that will perma-block, so being able to break block is nice. If all of a sudden people detect you and they jump on you, you can fear them all, CC them, up to 6 enemies. If more than 6 enemies are hitting you with this build, guys, you're dead. You made a mistake, you got caught, you're probably dead. But you fear everybody off of you, you get away from your shadow image, and then you go back to it. Yeah. Concealed Weapon. This is our unbuffed stats from our Concealed Weapon. We have 10,000 concealed, which is pretty solid. I think this jumps up to about 12,000 fully buffed, so pretty solid damage. And then we're running Soul Harvest. Now, you can run Onslaught with this build. Onslaught would be effective. I went with the Soul Harvest because it's the cheaper ultimate, and we also inflict people with Major Defile. So we're running a bunch of damage over time effects, plus we can give them Major Defile so they won't be able to heal as much and put a lot more pressure on them. So Soul Harvest plus damage over time effects is very effective. As far as our back bar ultimate goes, guys, we're running Soul Tether because it is also a siphoning skill, and we want the max magic on our back bar. On top of that, guys, this is also a great oh shit ultimate. So if you get caught, the goal is to not get caught. But when you do, you can pop Soul Tether, you can stun everybody. It does damage, it heals you, it gives you time to get back into stealth and get to safety. So very useful for that reason. Back bar, Structured Entropy. This gives us our major sorcery. This is a tremendous damage over time effect. Unbuffed, we're at 25,000 magic damage over 10 seconds. Shadow Image. Shadow Image is great. It's our survivability skill. It is awesome. Consuming Trap. 25,000 magic damage over 10 seconds. I think you've heard this before 2 other times now. All these dots are very, very powerful. We could stack them on this build to dish out a bunch of damage, to then go in with our burst. It's effective. It's too strong in my opinion. That's why I'm, posting the build. Dampen Magicka and Healing Ward. As far as our CP goes, guys, 56 Warlord, 22 into Siphoner, 43 Tenacity, 64 Arcanist, 15 into Mooncalf, 19 to Befoul, 51 into Tumbling, 48 Elfborn, 64 Alley Expert, 29 into Spell Erosion, 48 Master at Arms, and 81 into Thaumaturge. Now, you want 75 into Thaumaturge to unlock the Exploiter passive. The reason you want the Exploiter passive, guys, is because your Concealed Weapon from stealth sets people off balance. If you hit with Concealed, it sets them off balance. They take 10% more damage if you have the Exploiter passive. On top of that, since we're running 3 damage over time effects, it helps to stack into Thaumaturge in order to dish out more dot damage. And so this is going to buff our 3 very powerful dots. It's going to give us the Exploiter passive, which will then buff our powerful dots even more by 10%, as well as our burst. 72 Ironclad, 52 into Resistant, 37 Hardy, 37 LA Defender, 28 Thick Skin, and 44 into Bastion. So that's the build, guys. Some small adjustments, some things. Now, honestly, Destro Staff would be better. Destro Staff would be better than Melee Magblade. Melee Magblade is effective. Destro's just better. Swallow Soul. You can literally put Concealed Weapon where Fear is. You can put Swallow Soul here, and that's your spammable. And you run Destro on the front bar. Because of that, Swallow Soul is cheaper. You can also activate it from range. You don't have to be in people's faces in order to dish out the damage. If you did a Destro Staff style build and you played well, like I said, I don't know if you die. You just have too much movement speed. You have too much recovery, too much burst. You can get in it and get out very quickly, and it's very tough to detect people if they don't really know where you're at. So when you're up close and personal and you're in people's faces, there's a lot of things that pull you out of stealth. Biting jabs pull you out of stealth. Puncturing sweeps pull you out of stealth. Hurricane, Caltrops, Inner Light, the Fighter Camo Hunter, Detect Pots, all these things. So Concealed Weapon gives you this risk reward of getting in there and trying to get a kill and getting out. You don't have that risk if you run Swallow Soul. So, yeah, Destro Staff is the better way to go. I think that is. But you know, if you want to run a melee Magblade build because you haven't seen one in a while, here you are. Yeah. So now that we've gone into that, we've gone through the build. I'm going to explain why I think this build is so powerful and why I think this needs, you know, as I said, an adjustment. So if we pop a pot and we look at our character sheet, you see that we are running 1952 Magic Recovery. Now, pretty good amount of recovery. However, when you take into account Darlock Bray, that's another 1,300. So that jumps us up to 3,200 Magic Recovery. Plus we have 600 from Debilitate. So that jumps us up to 3,800 Magic Recovery with this build. If we take a resource, we jump up to almost 4,000 Magic Recovery. Now, people are asking, why do you need this much Magic Recovery? And the answer is, you really don't. You don't need this much Magic Recovery. You can just have it. You know, why wouldn't you want more of something when you can just have it and you don't really lose anything? We have 30,000. We have 3 dots that basically almost do 30,000 damage each over 10 seconds. And we have a 12k Concealed Weapon tooltip with like a 17k Soul Harvest and a 22k Spectral Bow. Like, we have a ton of damage and we have a ton of recovery. And as long as we play smart and we get into stealth, we will have this recovery. Now, the other reason this build is so effective, guys, is if we look at the cost of our dots. We have 2673 Magicka. If we go to our back bar and we look at these dots, 2430, 2673. So you see 5,300 Magicka plus 24. We have about 7,700 Magicka to cast these 3 dots on one person. Okay, Purify, if I remember correctly, is somewhere around 5k. You know, it's like 4,500, I'm guessing, with the reduced cost. And if you're Breton, it's less. But when you take into account our Magic Recovery, you know, the average Magplar in open world PvP is probably running 1,000 to 1,500 Magic Recovery. They have about 2,000 with their rune. We have double their Magic Recovery. Okay, so with this build, we have double their Magic Recovery. So even against Magplars that can purify these dots, we will be able to out-sustain them because it will be easier for us to get our resources back off of applying dots than it will be for them to purify them off and hit Breath of Life, because they are going to do damage. You know, it will proc Scoria. They will have to heal. And so we can literally, even against the class that is best suited for dealing with damage over time effects, we will out-sustain them with this build. And so a few people commented on my video when I was talking about dots, and they're like, well, you know, else, you didn't really prove anything. You killed a bunch of people that weren't really defending themselves very well, and, you know, I want to see more. Well, the problem is, guys, I didn't really think about it at the time, but there were plenty of people that I dotted up, and I just kind of watched what happened. When they realized that they couldn't sustain, if they were a Sork, they streaked away. They streaked back to their keep. They popped the Rest-A-Wealth to heal to full. They streaked as many times as possible. Dark Dealed, streaked again to get as much distance away from me as possible because they knew what was going to happen. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them because, you know, like, if they stayed there and they tried to quote-unquote fight, you know, they're not going to be able to find me, and I'm just going to keep doing damage to them, and they're going to die. I had Stamina Nightblades cloak away. I ran across a 5-star Templar that was a very, very tanky build last batch. Very tanky, very tough to kill. All I did was hit him with dots. He purified. I stood there, and I hit him with dots again. He purified again, tried to heal. I hit him with dots. He had like 40,000 health, high resistances. I just followed him around and kept dots on him. He had to run away from me, hop off the keep, purify, and pop an Invispot to get away. And now, I'm not talking shit about anybody. I'm not saying anything like that, guys, because I don't do that, you know, especially on my videos or anything like that. It is just a pain in the ass to deal with this. So even if you have a Purify and you can purify these dots, I'll just restack them. And then I will go back into stealth, and I will recover everything. And when you purify it again, I will restack them. And I have 46,000 Magicka with 4,000, almost 4,000 Magicka recovery. And we'll just see we'll see who runs out first. And so that's where this build you have to be patient. You have to be patient with dealing your damage. Stam DKs are very formidable with their amount of healing. If you don't get them to low health, they can recover, they can sustain. Magplars can purify. If they're running more magic recovery, they can purify longer. So the only way you can really die with this build is if you're impatient, in my opinion. And especially if you're running a staff type of build with this. As long as you stay away from the big keeps, the big battles, you don't want to be going in trying to kill one person in a large group because they're going to pull you out of stealth, they're going to kill you. But your hunting ground with this type of build is in between keeps. So as people are riding to and from keeps, you dot them up, you fight them in open world PvP, you burst them down, and you go on to the next one. So that's why I think this build is so powerful, guys. So we have shit ton of magic recovery, shit ton of damage. Like as I said, if we stand up here and we light attack entropy, you see we have a 30,000 debilitate, we have 27,000 soul trap, and then our entropy is around 30,000 as well with our light attack. So yeah, 27,000. So we're at almost 90,000 tooltip damage with our dots. Plus with the off balance passive, we rack up over 100,000 damage worth of tooltip dots. And as you guys can see, this is over 10 seconds. This is over 10 seconds. This is over 10 seconds. So all three of them hit over 10 seconds. So if we have 100,000 tooltip damage over 10 seconds, that's 10,000 damage per second that we're dishing out to somebody. Obviously, you have that in PvP, so it's 5,000 damage per second. Depending on their resistances, you can cut that in half again. For somebody with cap resistances without crits, you will hit them for roughly 2,500 dots at base. 2,000, 2,500. I've seen these crit for each of these crit individually for 3K a piece. Like that's how hard they hit. So when you're talking about one dot tick critting for 3,000 and you have 3 dots that can crit, it adds up to a lot of burst. And so you combine that with Scoria, you combine that with Concealed Weapon. This is a very, very tough build to fight. Now, the last thing I'm going to say, people are going to say, well, is this a 1vx build? Not really. It's not really a 1vx build in the sense that you can stand toe, like face tank like 5 people and then kill them all. You maneuver around the battlefield, you dot people up, you burst them down. You maneuver around the battlefield, you dot that person up, you burst them down, and you just continue on your way. Like this is going to be very effective in the sewers. Hypothetically, if there was a double Telvar event, I feel like this would be very effective for dotting people down and killing them. Like if there was ever one of those things that just happen to pop up today, I think this is an effective build for that. So this is my melee magic and Nightblade build. This is what is possible in the Scalebreaker DLC. As I've said before, guys, it's my goal with this channel to provide transparency and to show you guys builds that are capable of not only killing people in PvP, but out there in the meta. And so I don't always like posting very meta stuff. I just try to come up with stuff and then see where it lands. I don't think this build is going to become very popular. I don't think there's going to be a bunch of melee magic and Nightblades running around out there because you have to be very patient with this type of build. You have to be very patient. You can't get in there and mix into it with people. You're not going to jump into like 4 or 5 people and then kill them all in one burst. Like you dot somebody up, you come in, you burst them down, you get out. Not many people like to play this type of play style. However, I do think, because of a play style like this, existing, this is why you need to tone back the dots a little bit. This is why I think damage over time effects need to take a little bit of a step back so that they're not doing all the damage for you. Like if you go back and watch my video that I posted, I killed Magplars. I killed Magplars with this. I dotted them down, Scoria proc, Concealed Weapon, in cap, dead. Or Soul Harvest, dead. Like that's all it took. Not much skill to line up dots. It's just not a very complicated meta. So that's the end of the build. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below. I'll do my best to answer it. I will do my best to answer it. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.